Bon dia a tothom.
Bon dia a tothom, buongiorno a tutti. Juragel Mindenkinek. Welcome to this first session of the 3-day online series that Diplocat and the Barcelona Time Use Initiative for a Healthy Society are organizing on the issue of time use policies and how they impact our daily lives. First, I would like to apologize to everyone for the technical issues we had experienced with the recording and the broadcasting of this event, which forced us to, accumulate a certain delay, and that's why we're starting a little late. Let me also thank, to begin with, the speakers and the moderator of this event for their participation in today's event, and especially the Barcelona City Council, which is a member of Diplocat itself, and through its international relations team, they are supporting us during the organization of the whole lecture series. Throughout the 3 planned sessions, we will learn about best practices in time use policies of Catalan municipalities, but also European cities, such as it is the case today with Barcelona, Solsona, Bolzano, and Budapest, and their implementation at the local level, always with a view to improving the quality of life of their populations. In addition, the conclusions of the talks will be added to the upcoming Barcelona Declaration on Time Use, which is scheduled to happen for fall this year. As many of you already know, Diplocat is a public-private consortium made up of 38 bodies, amongst which the representation of the local world is a fundamental pillar, which is why many of our activities include this municipal aspect. The aim of Diplocat is to promote international dialogue and to build bridges between Catalonia and the rest of the world. And we do this through international debates and best practice exchange meetings like the one today, always speaking about burning topics from all over the world. In recent years, time use has been brought to the public debate, and it is now on the agenda of most public institutions. So we believe that it is one of these global current topics. In Catalonia, we find very good examples of this, such as the creation of the Barcelona Time Use Initiative for a Healthy Society, with which, as I said, we're organizing today's debate, and that of the Office for Timetable Reform within the government of the Generalitat de Catalunya, or the Advisory Board for Time Use Reform. The goal behind all of these initiatives is to promote time use changes that bring us closer to the rest of Europe in order to follow more rational and healthier timetables, which would allow us to enjoy our time more, to save money, and to make a more efficient use of it. At the European level, there is also a widespread debate about the elimination of daylight saving time, although there is no clear consensus amongst countries. We are now immersed in a society in which we often get the feeling that we do not have time to do everything that is expected from us. Oftentimes, I'm sure that we have all thought that we needed more time to our time. So that's what I mean. This is demanded from us as professionals, as parents, as children, friends, students. The timings that are established for us at work through shops opening hours, schools, extracurricular activities, television shows, leisure activities, they define our habits and ultimately the model in which we live and educate. How we organize time influences our physical and mental well-being, how we juggle family, work, and personal life, how we perform at work, how we share responsibilities and achieve gender equity or equality, and even energy sustainability. Also, allow me to say that we cannot broach this subject without speaking about COVID-19 and the effects that the pandemic is having and will have on reorganizing the way we manage our time. Will we have a before and after moment in this regard? Concepts such as teleworking, digitization, or the digital divide have taken on a momentum we had never seen before, not only in our country, but rather, like COVID, its impact has been global. The pandemic has forced many local governments everywhere to speed up existing initiatives and to adjust their services to this new reality. So from the perspective of time use policies, the seminar today will analyze these changes and try to establish which of these measures have the potential to last and to transform current city models. Obviously, sustainable recovery is up to all of us. And lastly, I'd like to remind you that you can address your questions and comments via our YouTube chat, and I wish you all a very good day. Next, I give the floor to Ariadna Güell, who's the coordinator of the Barcelona Time Use Initiative for a Healthy Society. Ariadna, whenever you wish, you have the floor. Thank you, Laura. As a coordinator of the Barcelona Time Use Initiative for a Healthy Society, it is a pleasure for me to open this pioneering series of talks on municipal time use policies, which has been co-organized with Diplocat. And first, I would like to thank the people who are still here with us, as well as the speakers that will be discussing this topic with us today. Now, from the Barcelona Time Use Initiative, the association that is fostering timetable reform, we aim to bring time use to the center of the political agenda and the urban agenda to improve the well-being of our citizens. Since the 1990s, municipalities have been spearheading the implementation of time use policies. There are also networks of pioneering cities in terms of time use policies, both in Catalonia as part of this network of cities, but also at the European level, also in France, or the European level network of cities for time use, which was set up in Barcelona in 2008. The municipalities where people spend their daily lives at the end of the day, and therefore it has the ability to transform it and to improve it. We believe that this is why time use policies have always been well accepted at the municipal level and have always existed in a more implicit or explicit way. So understanding time as a right, a citizen right, understanding how it impacts people's lives, and to include it in the design of an implementation of policies has the potential to improve existing policies, but also to help let's say, rethink or imagine new ways to organize our time, which are conducive to the betterment of health, well-being, equality, and productivity of people and cities. This lecture series, as Laura was saying, comes at a time of change when the consequences of COVID-19 are making us rethink how we do things. And many of these rethinking processes are in terms of time. So against this backdrop, the urban dimension becomes more and more important, which has been acknowledged by urban agendas presented recently by the United Nations and the European Union, and underlining the significance of municipalities as key players to achieve a greener, more sustainable, fairer future. Which is why the series of talks that we initiate today has not been organized by traditional sectors such as education, work, or trade, but rather we decided to organize these around challenges or ideas for the future that we believe are key in order to create these new urban agendas that are being built. And at the same time, obviously, they're important from the point of view of time use policies and rights. So we're going to speak about recovery, how this sustainable economic recovery can happen after COVID-19. But in other sessions, we'll speak about sustainable mobility, the idea of the 15-minute city, and also from the point of view of health by considering chronobiology and what we know about it in public policies themselves. Through these talks, we want to encourage the exchange of best practices in time use policies among municipalities as a key step to enhance their implementation. We firmly believe that in order to imagine a better world, we need to do that as a network, sharing different experiences and offering support to one another. Events like today's, as well as this whole series of talks, allow us to open windows to other experiences and to learn from them to transform our own municipality, which can help us to jointly build this new political urban agenda from the point of view of time. As a result, a report will be published gathering the experiences that will be presented today and in upcoming days, as well as the key conclusions and learnings that we hope to draw from them. As I said, this is not a closed process. Rather, this is just a seed we're planting to promote the exchange of experiences among municipalities, which is why these conclusions will be presented within the framework of Time Use Week 2021, which will take place in Barcelona from October 25th to 31st, the only international week devoted to reflecting, debating, and sharing knowledge and experiences around time use policies. Specifically, I would like to now invite you to come on October 26th, which will focus on municipal time use policies. In addition to presenting the conclusions of these days, we will open a new space for exchange among municipalities, picking up on the process we're kickstarting today. I'd like to say as well that these time use weeks talks will happen both in Catalan and in English. We hope that today's discussion will inspire us to create more friendly cities and towns for the people who inhabit them, to take into account the habits and time needs of their citizens, as well as to improve the health and well-being of all. And I'll leave it there. I will now give the floor to Silvia Llorente, who will be the moderator of today's event. She's a research and policy officer at Metropolis, the global organization for big metropolis. Silvia, you have the floor.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you very much. First of all, I would like to thank Diplocat and the Barcelona Time Use Initiative. Thank you very much for the invitation. Thanks for having invited Metropolis, me in this case, as a representative of Metropolis. So we are very grateful for that. We are the Worldwide Association of Large Metropolis, and the purpose is to create spaces for debate, for knowledge construction, also to create synergies between different cities in the world. Actually, we are over 140 members now in the world, scattered all around the globe. Santiago de Chile, Barcelona are one of our members, or Seoul, just to give you another example. So we have different perspectives, different views, different approaches indeed, which well, in principle, well, shouldn't have much in common, but we at Metropolis offer for them this meeting point, this space for idea sharing, knowledge sharing, because we want to create a common ground for governance purposes in a fair manner, so that all the voices and all the stakeholders are duly represented, especially those that maybe had been left aside in terms of governance. So when we say metropolis, we refer to metropolitan governance, and by this we mean gender equality as well. In our definition of metropolitan governments, so one of the pillars for us is gender equality. Gender equality, which is expressed in our association by means of our political agenda that includes this perspective, and with a clear strategy behind it. It's actually translated then into different actions and projects, and then is well, translated into an action plan that has been approved a few months ago. So gender equality is cross-cutting to the different metropolitan challenges. One of the topics precisely that we have on the table today is time and time use and time use policies. So without taking the mic any longer than necessary, I would like to introduce the speakers, because we have today different representatives from different cities, two local cities, Barcelona and Solsona, and two European cities, in this case Budapest and Bolzano in Italy. As you probably have seen in the program, we have two sessions. We will hear from the speakers first, and they will share with us their initiatives, the experiences in their cities, and what they're developing in relation to the topic that we are discussing today, and then we'll move on to a Q&A session. I would like to welcome, by the way, all the viewers following the seminar on YouTube. I would like to encourage all of them to address their questions to us on the YouTube chat. So any questions they might have for our speakers, they're free to do so. So without any further ado, I would like to introduce the representative from the Barcelona City Council, Ms. Sonia Ruiz. Good morning, Sonia. She is the Director of Gender Department and Time Policies in the Barcelona City Hall. Good morning, Sonia. Thank you very much. Thank you, Sylvia. It's a pleasure to share this space for international exchange. I would like to thank Diplocat and the Barcelona Time Use Initiative. Thank you for having organized this talk series. Thank you for inviting us. The Barcelona City Hall is committed to time use policies. That was 25 years ago. It's a right for our citizens. And right now, time use policies, well, are part of our municipal office. And we also feed from, well, the Commissioner of Labor, also the Department of Social Affairs and Feminism. So our will is to be cross-cutting and integrate the time dimension in the work of the City Hall and translate that into all of our activities and actions and projects. We are going through tough times. The changes have been abrupt, and it is indispensable to actually think of the title of the session, because what do we mean exactly when we say sustainable recovery? Because the crisis behind this multiple healthcare, social, care related, economic, environmental crisis, that's what we are going through right now, and we need to leave this behind as soon as possible. So, recovery, for it to be economically sustainable, needs to be socially fair and, well, egalitarian. So, gender perspective, every variable, every circumstance that may generate vulnerabilities need to be taken into account. Poverty, as impacted by the pandemic, disability specific needs of the elderly group, also the young people that have been much affected by lockdown and social isolation, LGBTI components, also ethnical issues, origin related affairs. So we need to promote egalitarian time use policies, so all kinds of work can contribute to this economy. And I'm referring to paid works and not paid works. What's productive, what's reproductive in technological innovations, care related work, and the different aspects related to economy. Sustainable economy will depend on an ecological and healthier production that is environmental friendly, that's green, that's blue, that's circular, and that's feminist. This means rethinking the different aspects, mobility, commuting, placing life at the center so that the public space is livable and approachable, healthier in terms of circadian rhythms, with timetables in accordance to our needs as people, and not actually prioritizing other aspects. A sustainable recovery is actually more efficient, and we know that a good time organization will benefit effectiveness and efficiency in public policies. This is translated into good governance, and for the corporate world, this is increased productivity, increased satisfaction among the workers. So, at the end of the day, a better labor environment, work environment. So, these are the premises. What are the public policies that can and must be worked on from the city councils to promote a more sustainable economic recovery, especially in current times? Since the healthcare crisis in the City Hall of Barcelona, we've actually implemented different actions, and we've offered aids of different sorts. And I will focus on two specific activities because there's a window of initiatives, but we have an internal aspect that I would like to discuss, and then another one that's open to all citizens. Let me refer to the first one. We would like to share with you the decalogue of organization of a better timetable management that's fostered by the municipal office, and it's been spread throughout the city council staff. The idea is to make a better use of time in a more efficient and healthier manner. We started off before the pandemic, and when the healthcare crisis exploded, we adapted it. We have a specific dissemination plan, a follow-up plan. We monitor it individually, also in an aggregate manner. We are organizing different working groups to adapt the different recommendations, well, vis-a-vis the different specificities for different job profiles, for different groups of people, and we have an accompanying service for change, as we call it. Let me try to share my screen so that you can see the decalogue. Here it is. I believe you can see it on your screens. So the idea is to have more rational meeting timetables, promoting more online meetings for ecological environmental purposes, to reduce the number of meetings so that they're more productive. These are all recommendations. We're going to guarantee the right to disconnect. We should avoid working during our weekly rest periods, whatever that is exactly. We need to have lunch hours moved forward, reduce to the maximum working lunches. We are going to promote a health plan, physically and psychosocially speaking, for the well-being of the staff. The idea is to have a good teleworking system in place that's efficient with consensus, and the idea is also to disseminate this information and take action so that we share the strategies in order for this decalogue, which is a recommendation, to be best implemented. Last but not least, we would like to share with you a project that's open to the citizens. It's called the Concilia project. It's a child care system to take care of children outside of the school hours. It's totally free, part of the social shock plan in the city hall. In order to face the social economic problems generated by the pandemic, we want to contribute to harmonizing and the combination of family life and work life with this service that actually helps the families solve this issue, because this especially affects women when they need to take care of their children. We know about the concept of time poverty affecting many people, especially women, but we wanted to analyze how single mothers, in particular, during lockdown, no schools available, they were losing their jobs because they didn't know what to do with their children. So right now, this project Concilia covers 7 districts in the city. It began in October, and until the end of April, it will run. And actually, the more than 5,000 actions, babysitting services have been offered. 55,000 people have registered in this for people, actually children from 3 to 12 years of age. It's available during the week days. The single parents are prioritized, especially also for women suffering from gender violence. People with no help, with no network, are prioritized. You can ask for this help, well, sporadically or in a more gradual manner, and you can, well, use it because you need to go to work or you need to go to another appointment. And I think that's my time. My time is up. Thank you. Great, Sonia. Thank you very much. Thank you for sharing these two initiatives from the Barcelona City Council. I would like now to hand over to the representative of the Budapest City Hall. We have with us Mr. Balas Fejes. Good morning. Mr. Fejes is a senior expert in mobility planning in the Transportation Center in Budapest, and he will discuss a strategic plan to reactivate economy. All right, so the floor is yours, Mr. Fejes.
Thank you very much, and good morning, and thank you for inviting Budapest to this interesting event. In the autumn of 2019, there were municipal elections in Hungary, which resulted in the election of a new city administration in Budapest. The new mayor announced a new program called At Home in Budapest. The main strategic goals of the program are threefold. First of all, the first pillar is opportunity creating, which deals with improvement of housing, health, living conditions for all citizens. The second pillar is green city, which is livable, climate conscious, sustainable, and green. And the third pillar is the open city, which includes cooperation with citizens, participatory planning processes, public consultations, and the need for innovation. One of the measures proposed by the goal Green Budapest is the city of short distances, or in other words, a city of 10 minutes. First, I will give you some background information for a better understanding of this measure. From the 1990s, after the political changes and the transition from the planned economy to a market economy, there was a large increase in car traffic in the city. Big shopping malls settled on the periphery, and urban sprawl began. Some of the small shops in the city center were closed because the population in the city center was declining, people were shopping elsewhere, and the increased car traffic had made the streets unlivable. The new city management focuses on the citizens, manages the land use planning and transport developments in an integrated way. The aim is to increase the livability of the city, not to have single function neighborhoods, to reduce car traffic and to make transport more sustainable. There is a need for people to be able to access the services they need in their daily lives, preferably within walking and cycling distances, be it education, healthcare, recreation, or shopping. We encourage the use of local services through an active campaign, thus strengthening small and medium-sized enterprises, which also reduces travel needs and the impact on the environment. In a situation of COVID restrictions and the curfew, easily and quickly accessible services become more valuable. Through this measure, the city's diversity and employment will be growing, the local economy will be strengthening, the city is becoming friendlier, disused city areas will be filled with life again, car traffic can be reduced, and global freight demand can also be reduced in many cases through the increased use of local products. This is what the city of short distances is all about. Thank you.
Muchas gracias, señor Pagés.
Thank you very much, Mr. Pagés.
M'agradaria ara convidar a la
I would like now
a la
to
senyora Dolors Corominas.
hand over to Ms. Dolores Corominas. There you are. Good morning.
La senyora Dolors Corominas,
Yes.
ella és membre de la
Ms.
Junta de la
Corominas
Unió de Botiguers i
is part
Comerciants
of
de
the
Solsona.
Association of Shopkeepers at the city of
Bon
Solsona.
dia.
Yes, good morning. Let me introduce Solsona first. It's located at the center of Catalonia, 9,000 inhabitants. We are the capital city of our county. Solsona is an impact of the shopkeepers associations, but the job that we did involved also the city hall at Solsona, not just the different shopkeepers representatives. How did this all come about? Well, we were immersed in the pandemic. We at the association reached out to our members, asked about their fears, discussed with them, and thought about when we would be able to open our shops again. And then the idea came out, why not, compact our timetable all together, same opening hours for a few weeks. We discussed this with the city hall because we had to involve the city hall, and the pilot test began. Actually, many stores, many shops joined the initiative, and after that, we conducted an analysis about the test. We conducted a survey among the shopkeepers and another survey for buyers, for the citizens. Both the stores or shops that were part of the project could answer the survey, and also those who didn't adhere to the initiative. We asked from them, well, what they thought about this suggestion of maybe having a compact timetable. Among the participants, 67% actually said the test was very good. And for those that had not participated, they were not as positive. We also asked another question. We asked them what they thought the users might have thought about that. And actually, the assessment was very good, yet it was only 40% among those that had not taken part in the test. We asked why, the reasons why they thought that was a good idea. Striking a balance between family life and personal life and work life, that was clear the number one answer. And they also said that took place in winter. They said that 7 p.m. onward, there was no one in the street, so people just didn't go shopping anywhere. They were asked why they thought they shouldn't close at 7, and they said they feared large malls. So they were scared. They were scared in this respect. We also asked questions to the buyers. We wanted to know about their shopping habits, and there were two questions there because when it was no food related, 50% of the respondents said that they would go to their local stores, proximity stores, and that actually dropped when it had to do with food. They were asked when they usually went shopping, and they said that during the weekday, well, they would go shopping. Well, if it was food, either in the morning or afternoon. In the weekend, it was different. They would rather go and buy food in the morning and not that much in the afternoon. They did other shoppings in the evening, but they always said that it was always before 7 p.m. We asked the buyers also whether they thought it was difficult for them to adjust to this new timetable. 7% of the respondents said that that might be difficult. Only 7%. So we realized that people that took place in the pilot test, well, the feeling that we had was that they seemed to feel that they had more time for them, that their family life, work life combination was better and eased. And among those that were not participating, they were more scared. But one thing was clear from the Sosona City Hall and the Shopkeepers Associations, we can provide recommendations and suggestions, but of course, the Generalitat, the public authorities, the regional government, well, they were the ones to really be committed and to maybe pass a law or a regulation that obliges everyone to follow those timetables, because fear of competition is always there. That's what we've done in Solsona. Thank you very much for listening.
Great. Thank you, Ms. Coromines. I apologize. There was an audio problem and there was an overlap, but everything is solved now. And finally, I would like to welcome as well Ms. Sabina Scuola. She's representing the Bolzano City Council. Buongiorno. Good morning. Good morning, everyone. This is a great opportunity for me. I have to say it's great to be able to disseminate time use policies across Europe. I would like to begin my brief presentation with some significant data. The municipality of Bolzano, there are about 1,000 people working. 55% of them are women. Female managers represent 48% of the total number of managers. Part-time work is predominantly female. In fact, only 7% of part-time workers are men. Since 2010, the number of retired employees has gradually increased. They're getting older, as it happens all across Europe. And the average age is 51 years in 2020. Baby boomers, who used to be a substantial part of public officials, are retiring, and they're taking with them a vast amount of knowledge. It is clear from this data that there is a strong need for work and life balance among employees, both men and women, any civil servant, and especially for people who have a family or who have a private life in different regards. So based on these data, in 2018, the local administration implemented a thought process with different stakeholders, such as trade unions, the Central Committee for Ensuring Equal Opportunities, the Personal Office, and the Time Use Office of the city, which deals with time-related policies for the city, but also the internal organization of the municipality. This led to the creation of a plan for the management of generations with several goals, so all of them of strategic importance. And the main ones are as follows: to improve work and life balance for employees, both junior and senior, to encourage the transfer of know-how through a participatory process with different focus groups with employees, and also, well, to be able to adjust these policies to reach these goals. Amongst these measures, there are more flexible ways to work and collaborative ways to work, such as smart working. What is smart working? Well, it means agile working, and it had already been introduced nationally in Italy in 2017. The law defines smart working as follows: an employment relation established by agreement between the different parties, with organization modes by phases, cycles, and objectives, and without precise constraints of time or place of work. This definition highlights, in particular, the inherent organizational flexibility in terms of place and timetable. So, or location and time, the two key elements of time use policies. The characteristics of this working mode, smart working, are great flexibility, autonomy, self-sufficiency in terms of managing time, private life timing, but also working time. Trust. There has to be trust among the different parties in terms of employees and workers. Empowerment, because obviously this work is based on goals that need to be reached. Collaboration among employees, and also, well, between all the different stakeholders at work, and then optimizing tools and technologies. What happened in 2020? Well, this health emergency sped up the development and the dissemination of smart working. In fact, it had to be done. And from that point of view, it made us make progress, the work that would have been done in years. So in just 3 days, in our city council, 432 employees, nearly half of the working staff started working from home. And those 432 employees, almost 100% of office workers in the administrative sector adopted this mode of working. They started working smartly. It was a radical and rapid change due to the health emergency, a deep cultural and organizational transformation. In May 2020, so about 2 months after the health emergency started, and people started using the smart working mode, a survey was carried out to understand how this change was experienced by employees. Here are some data. 45% of respondents are between 51 and 60 years of age. 70% of them are women, and 65% work full-time. 40% have family members, including children, in need of assistance or care. More than 20% of respondents live outside of Bolzano. And from these, almost 30% use their private car to go to work. And 70% of commuters take at least more than half an hour, up to 1 hour, to travel from home to work, or the other way around. Smart working was mainly given a score of 8, nearly 9, with a scale from 1 to 10. And regarding the future, 83% of respondents wish to continue to practice smart working, and especially managers. They are adamant. They think this has to be done. Unfortunately, we have to finish. We don't have a lot of time, so just a few minutes. That's it. Thank you. I'm terribly sorry for this interruption. Because of the technical problem, we have a certain delay, so we have to keep everything a bit shorter. So to finish with this first round, let me try to summarize what we have heard. We have Barcelona first, as part of these two very interesting policies, such as work and life balance with this Concilia project, child caring service, and then Bursano in Barcelona as well, with these internal policies of smart working and the checklist of best practices for time management, as well as this approach of the 10-minute city. We have Budapest and Solsona. Solsona with this private initiative as well, with this assistance that was offered by the Association of Shop Owners in Solsona, and then a public initiative in Budapest as well, with this START program. Now, I would like to move to the second round of questions, the second section of the event. And I have a first question to Mr. Balázs Fejes, who's the representative of Budapest. Mr. Fejes. Good morning. Now, regarding your initiative, the one that you just presented to us, we would like to know, well, we understand that from Budapest, you started mostly with a campaign of awareness raising and communication to promote this with local shopkeepers, right? This idea of the 10-minute city. So we would like to know if this idea is something that you plan, let's say, to expand in the future and to other areas, such as, for instance, public services or cultural events, mobility within the city as well, or other aspects of urban life. Thank you.
Yes, I have to tell you that we are not only doing a campaign, we are also performing some concrete measures. Let me give you some examples in the field of mobility, which is part of people's everyday life and the mean how people are connected with services, jobs, recreation, and so on. The COVID pandemic has significantly transformed our lives and mobility habits. As a result of these closures, the number of public transport passengers first fell to 20% of normal operation, and then returned to around 60%. Private transport has become more popular. The share of car traffic has increased. Mobility needs have generally declined. The aim of the city is to shift returning mobility needs to sustainable transport modes after the releases of the pandemic. In addition to maintaining and developing public transport as a sustainable mode of transport, we place great emphasis on the promotion of active modes, such as walking and cycling. The temporary bike lanes created during the first wave of the pandemic last summer will be finalized with the necessary corrections made. We have also further large-scale cycling infrastructure development projects as well. The public bike sharing system, which was launched in 2014, was upgraded this year. Bicycles were modernized, access was made easier. Traffic has been calmed in some parts of the city center, and public areas are being renewed in a pedestrian-friendly way. We place great emphasis on the development of the tramway network. The once extensive network around the late 1960s was shortened in many places in the 70s and 80s. Our goal is to rebuild the missing links and to make some network extensions in some areas. Perhaps the busiest tram line in the world is operating in Budapest in the Grand Boulevard, transporting 8,000 to 9,000 passengers per hour and direction. This was, of course, the situation before the COVID. This important street is currently being redesigned for for a bicycle-friendly road. In our opinion, development of walking, cycling, and the tram system can enhance local trade and services. Because using these means of transport, we can easily stop at a shop, get in, walk on, and then hop on a tram or a shared bike. Our principle is to reduce transport needs through land use planning, creating compact multifunctional city districts, to shift the remaining transport needs from car to sustainable ways, and to direct the remaining car traffic towards environmentally friendly propulsion modes like e-mobility, for example. At the same time, a change in travel and shopping habits can be observed. With full or partial home office and the spread of e-commerce, travel needs are declining, while city logistics and home delivery needs are increasing. So these are quite issues for us to solve. Thank you.
That's great. Thank you, Mr. Fejes. Now I would like to continue with Ms. Corominas from Solsona. I have a twofold question for you, Ms. Corominas. First, after the experience that you have promoted from the Association of Shopkeepers, do you think that this initiative will continue after this moment we're going through of a healthcare emergency? And also a second question would be, you are a private initiative that has had the support of your city council and the shopkeepers association. So it has had both kinds of support. If you were to give advice to other city councils willing to introduce a similar initiative and to therefore support their own local shopkeepers associations, what kind of advice would you give? Thank you.
As to the first question, the timetable of shops in Solsona was up to 8:30. So reducing this opening hours to 7 actually has implied a reduction. Let me explain this. Stores and shops are now closing between 7:30 or 8. Virtually all of them have adjusted to this new timetable during the winter, because we would ask them what was the timetable they were going to go for, and they seemed to like the idea of having a winter timetable and a summer timetable. And for winter, they've all joined the initiative. And we did this in collaboration with the City Hall, because only with the Association of Shopkeepers that was not possible. So I would recommend the City Halls to talk about this with the shop owners and to, well, deploy initiatives like this one, because we need to spread the word, and it is very necessary to, well, scale it up to the authorities. And the idea is not just to talk about it and organize seminars and talk about it in meetings, because this has been a discussion for a long time. So that's a good idea, to organize a pilot test so that then the regional government can hear about that and hear that it works. Thank you. Thank you very much, Ms. Corominas. Another question now to Sonia Ruiz from the Barcelona City Hall. Hello, Sonia. Here you are. We have a question for you as well. We saw in your presentation, you presented two initiatives, the Decalogue with the City Hall, more of an internal initiative, and another one, Concilia, the Concilia project for the citizens. So in either case, what's your ambition as the pandemic unfolds? Do you want to keep these two initiatives as they are right now, or do you have maybe other ideas, or maybe you are working on another approach and thinking of maybe transforming them somehow? Thank you. Thank you very much, Sylvia. Let me start by saying that all the projects that we heard about were very interesting. The two projects that I mentioned will continue. The Decalogue is actually being adjusted depending on the needs of the different departments here at the City Hall, depending on the job profiles. We will make it more operational. And the Concilia project is, well, is much in need, and people are registering, and it seems an important need. So it will continue hand in hand with the district plan here at the town hall in Barcelona. We are actually working on many other projects and activities, including time dimension as a key pillar, as a key perspective. The super block spread, that is also very important. We heard about the 10 or 15-minute city school pathways. We have a project that's called Let's Protect Schools, Barcelona Cares. These projects are open, and we will start a service devoted to the companies in Barcelona. We have Barcelona Activa, an office that takes care of the corporate side of the story, and we are going to well, advise them in terms of gender perspective, and we are going to incorporate now the time use perspective as well. Very important now more than ever to support the companies, because they need also our help, and they need a push to move forward, because regardless of the size of the company and their legal well, setting, etc., all the organizations can adopt measures that focus on a better management of time. So with our advising department, the people that we have in the team are experts. We take care as well of companies. We support them, and we will broaden those services, offering to them different measures that they can apply with public hiring as well, measures to avoid well, on-site work in favor of home offices. So that will be a 5-hour advisory service, and that will be adapted also to the needs of the companies in the city. So that's how we are going to broaden our services and our projects, taking into account the time perspective. Thank you. Thank you very much, Sonia. And now we have a final final question for the representative of Bolzano, Ms. Sabina Scola. The initiative that you just introduced is related to the internal functioning of the City Hall with the smart working project, but you referred to a broader commitment of your city vis-a-vis time policies. Do you think that this initiative, smart working, can be adapted or broadened somehow or changed once the emergency, the healthcare emergency is over, that now obliges us to do teleworking? How do you think the policy will evolve from now on? Thank you.
Grazie. Allora, lo
Thank you.
smart working
Well, smart working has already been introduced. It's part of a working contract for all public employees. So smart working will continue to be a working mode. Obviously, they can choose to use it. It's a free choice. The employee can decide whether they want to do smart working. It's just a possibility. There will be regulation as well, especially to apply smart working to all kinds of employees. And this is a perspective that we want to promote. We want to apply it with all the necessary legal assurances. At first, it was all quite experimental, right? They started 25 years ago in Bolzano, and time use policies will also be regulated. And since 2021, this year, just a few months ago, by law, they need to be introduced in all city councils in the province. Thank you, Ms. Scuola. We will finish with this second round of questions, and I will try to summarize all the different initiatives. If they have anything in common, is that they are not just one-off policies. They started, they were introduced, and they are thought of for the mid and long run at the very least. That we saw this in the 10-minute city. We saw the initiative of Budapest with mobility, and this need to connect the different areas in the city where we live, and this more equal egalitarian access to the city from all citizens. We also heard about initiatives that are promoted by society itself with participatory processes, with surveys, such as the case in Solsona, that was promoted by the Association of Shopkeepers and Shop Owners to have more rational timetables, and then teleworking initiatives, for instance, in Barcelona and in Bolzano as well. The Barcelona City Council not only has this telework initiative, and especially how to care for workers. They also have the Concilia project, and as Sonia Ruiz was just telling us, this is a child caring service, a babysitting service that will be then expanded to other sectors from the point of view of private stakeholders. Given that we are short of time, we are not going to take any question from the audience. However, in order to finish now very, very quickly, I would like to ask a question, my own question as a representative of Metropolis to every one of the speakers and regarding networks. We'll start maybe with Sonia. I think Sonia has to leave earlier, so I'll ask her first. Sonia Ruiz from Barcelona. I would like to know what kind of impacts in terms of positive changes are you seeing in the participation of public debates, with the creation of synergies, such as the different networks that you're participating in at a time like this one, at a time of crisis, at a time of change. And also, it's important to participate in this kind of discussion processes. It's extremely important right now. So what kind of positive impact is this participation having on your day-to-day? What changes are you seeing when building these policies? Do you think that participation is positive for the Barcelona City Council in the different networks that exist in the world? Is there such an increase, such participation, such as Metropolis, obviously, but many others? Well, we're very active with Metropolis, obviously, as the Barcelona City Council. They're key. I believe that it is indispensable to be working as a network with other countries. We have seen this in this lecture, how important it is to listen to other people, to learn from them, and to create links with other stakeholders, people who are close by sometimes, institutions, and I believe that time use policies are a good practice from that point of view among the different institutions, in this case in Catalonia, but a lot of town halls and other institutions in our country, and also links in terms of co-production. We saw this in the case of Solsona. Civil society, organizations, associations, communities. There are a lot of strategies and projects and proposals and needs that need to be solved with the contribution of everyone's ideas. The Barcelona City Council has been working on time use policies since 2003, so it's very clear for us, and we are part of two main networks, one for companies called NUS, and it's fundamental as well to understand how time use policies can be projected into our society, and the Time Pact, which is going to be presented once again with a new meeting with more than 230 organizations and companies. and institutions that are very engaged with this topic, with the progress of a new way to organize our time in a healthier, more efficient, and more egalitarian time management. So I agree with that. Thank you. Thank you, Sonia. I would like to also ask Mr. Fezes from Budapest if he could say something about this. I invite him to tell us about this question about networks. Mr. Fezes.
Yes, I think the networking is very important. We, the city, and we at the PKK Center for Budapest Transport are participating in a lot of networks, I have to tell you, and also some research and innovation projects at European level. And this helped us very well to gather good practices or share our knowledge. Before the pandemic, we could organize personal meetings, and then we could show each other how the management of transportation or different kind of the city, how is it working, what is good, what is bad, we could ask them in these projects. And we are also participating on large city or public networks within Europe or in world networks, where we can professionally discuss such kind of questions.
Thank you, Mr. Fezes. I will now ask the same question to Ms. Dolores Cuminas from Solsona. What was the question? Whether it's important to network? Obviously it is. To exchange experiences and pilot tests. This is extremely important for everyone, for older and younger, for everyone. That's it, really. That's great. Thank you, Ms. Corominas. And finally, we'll ask Ms. Cuola from Bolzano. Thank you. So, networks are a method, the method that back in the 90s was taught to us. Professor Santa Bonfiglioli, for instance, from the university spoke about this. And obviously, time use policies are created through this participation as a network in Bolzano. It is the only possibility that we can think of to make progress. It is very positive because then when you make a decision, everyone participates in this process. It is not a top-down approach. So participating in a network doesn't mean having one single solution, but rather coming up with several such solutions. And we need to be creative. We need to be highly participatory. It is the only working method that works here in Italy that allows us to become richer in knowledge. That's great. Thank you. It is obvious that networks are the most fundamental working space for this exchange of knowledge, where we can learn from others, both from positive and negative lessons of other initiatives. It is extremely important to build public policies that are fairer, more inclusive, and to achieve greater impacts with our public policies on time use. Well, I would like to thank everyone involved, all the speakers that joined us from Barcelona, Budapest, Solsona, and Bolzano. And they are very committed with the time use policies. I would like to thank Diplocat and the Barcelona Time Use Initiative for having invited us, Metropolis, as moderators of this session. And last but not least, I would like to thank everyone who has been following us over YouTube. We apologize, however, because of those initial glitches. Well, we had to broadcast live, and unfortunately, we encountered several problems, but they were solved. Thank you all for being here with us. And I encourage you, well, I invite you to the upcoming sessions. There are two more that will be held within the framework of this series of talks with Diplocat and Barcelona Time Use Initiative. Thank you.